Did LSU make the correct decision to move on from Coach O? Did they handle it correctly? And will it be awkward from here on out? So let's start with the first. Did LSU make the correct choice here?
Make the correct choice. So it feels like when you look at where everything was and where it's going, like LSU didn't want it to spiral in a way where they didn't feel like they could come back quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that all of us could agree that there was years under Coach Miles at the end that it felt like you were just existing and not living.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what happened to Coach O had a lot to do with kind of how last time went. Would you say that's fair?
I think that's absolutely fair. I think in one case you have a more swift, abrupt ending versus a slow, methodical decline. Now, then again, I think sometimes, too, if we really just want to boil it down, you could say it was a correct decision simply because of the results on the field. Because that is the other thing. The Miles downfall was kind of extended and dragged out over time, but it's because they were winning enough, like just enough to extend it and drag it out over time, right? The stat that you can't get away from still is a 7-8 against a Power 5 in the last 2 years, right? And so just from, like Jake said, from a trends standpoint, the decision was almost made for you, like simply by the play on the field, especially because, like Jake said, you still have recruit, like you still have a lot of very solid foundational building blocks on this roster, resources, et cetera, where don't let the situation get too bad. Try to right the ship. Now, there comes a lot of pressure, and we're going to talk plenty of hiring, obviously, over the next few months, however long this thing lasts, and Woodward has to get it right. But those are two separate, like, you don't fire someone. You fire someone or you move on because you know it's time to move on, not because, like, someone you want to hire or anything like that, right? So those are two separate conversations, two separate. I do think they made the correct decision. I almost think, like I said, that it was made for them. Did they handle the process correctly?
With the timing of everything?
As it stands today, yes. With the timing, I mean, because there was an idea on Saturday, okay, like, for sure, like you said, everybody. It was the worst kept secret in Baton Rouge at that point.
Like
right?
most things
it's
are.
like Brody, Brody had that incredibly well-written piece ready to roll right when it happened, right? Ross was putting together postmortems for a few days before.
Yeah.
But so I knew, like, okay, if they lose, it's for sure happening. But there was a question, if they win, well, what do you do, right? So do you feel like it was handled correctly?
So when you have another big job out there, and there certainly is one in USC, like, do you value getting ahead of the trend and letting people know that your job is going to be available? Do you wait until the season's in? And I know that I think it was you do a lot of podcasts and shows like I do. I think it was on Whiskey and Wine that you were talking about, what happens if you don't do it, and then you roll out this miraculous run and you only lose one more game, and then you get in a situation where you wanted to make a move, everybody knows you were trying to make a move, and then, like, do you make the move, just like what happened with Coach Miles there at the end. I think they made the move at this time, at least it feels like for me, because they know that there's another job out there, USC, that's a blue blood job, that's, a top 5 arguably job, and they wanted to get ahead if they knew that eventually and inevitably they were going to make the move.
Yeah,
it stings. I mean, it's not fun for coaches to coach and these assistants don't know their future. I don't feel great for them at all. There's a lot of assistant coaches that you and I both have great relationships with, and now they're in the upside down. They don't know what their future is going to be. Now, some of these coaches have been here through multiple coaches. Some are new this year. Some have been here a couple of years. Whatever the case might be, there's an uncertainty for them that I don't love. But when you start looking at why they decided to do it now, I think it just has to do with they wanted to get ahead and let every hot candidate out there know that they were going to have an opening.
I agree that there's something to be said, especially with the early signing day, for getting ahead of this thing and trying to get a coach in place before that signing day so you can sign guys. I think that also, like I said, it kind of helps with the amicable split between O and the school, and because there were some rumors of some toxicity and what direction would this thing go, and it seems like in this case now everybody stays calm. The only thing, Jake, that makes it weird from here is actually if they go on that miraculous run. And that's probably why I think this is the right way, because I don't think that'll happen. I think they got a win or two left in him, right?
Like, they certainly have a win.
Definitely with UL Monroe, but I mean beyond
that.
Although
UL Monroe beat Liberty, shout out Warhawks.
Yeah, shout out Warhawks. But you definitely win there, and I think you maybe got one more, right? And then bowl eligible and everything, and maybe even more, I don't know. But my point is, the only way it gets really awkward now is if you like beat Alabama or something, and you go on some like crazy run, and then like, well, why are you firing him? But again, I think from Woodward's perspective, you do have to approach it from like, what are the odds of this happening? And the odds are still not that that's going to take place. So when you look in how Joe Oliva handled the transition, and instead of being public and forward-facing with these decisions, floated it through the media, left Miles dangling in the wind, he made him into a martyr. This avoids a lot of that martyrdom situation, again, unless they go on some crazy insane winning streak, because, and like I said, already like that, you could feel the LSU fan base's temperament switch, right? From angry and yelling and disparaging and constantly attacking what's happened recently, to all of a sudden the rose-colored lenses are already being applied, right? People already thanking and looking back to the positive times and the magic of 2019. And yeah, so I think it was actually handled pretty spectacularly all around, and in what is a very tough situation for everybody all around, at least as it stands today, right? Yeah. This process has to play out over time.
I know I'd go to break, but also the way Coach O handled it last night, I thought was very, very big of him. I mean, I don't even know how I would act in this situation, but you can tell the love and appreciation he has for LSU.
Yeah.
Like whenever you hear him speak, and I think I can speak for you here, that man has always welcomed us back into the program like with open arms.
Well, not even just like all former players.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, no, not because we're on this show by any means. I'm talking about former players like from day one.
And a far cry from what it was in the Miles era, where it was like if you didn't make the NFL, then you were just completely forgotten about.
That's completely fair. That's completely fair.
And no, he welcomed back everybody, whether you ever even played in a game or not. Like if you bled, sweat, and fought during practice, summer workouts, whatever, with the LSU Tigers, you could go to practice anytime.
And we'll make it a point during
passes.
Training camp practice to come say hello to you, even if you didn't remember who you were or didn't know who you were as a player.
And, I mean, dude, he healed the wounds of 2011, man. Wounds that ran very deep for many people. I mean, it's crazy if you hear Jarvis, Odell, anybody, myself, Will Blackwell, like anybody who was a part of that 2011 team, it was truly cathartic to see that championship won. Mm-hmm. It truly was the lifting of a long-time regret and kind of burden off of a lot of shoulders, which sounds so stupid. But because whatever, it's football, just a game. But it's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think everybody out there appreciates and knows exactly what you're saying.
All right, look, let's keep talking about all of this. Keep it locked right here on Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN.